point 2 of page 2, I would think.
It's part 3.
Part 3, page 2.
Part 3, page 2, not point 3.
Anyway,
So, good morning, Mr. Pain. We're just in the morning still. 10 minutes, you know the drill, 10 minutes. If you wish us to ask you questions, please allow us some time, but the time is yours. Take your submission as read.
this is
Thank you.
expanding. Or I know you've, so let's start with the overall rates impact. Where I submitted a lesser or no increase in rates or even a reduction would be possible if you A, charged consent holders for the full cost of water science, B, ditched the Ruataniwha water storage scheme in its present form rather than continuing to pour money into this black hole, help farmers to build dams on their own farms rather than destroying the Makaurau River. C, invested the $80 million set aside for the RWSS into a long-term bank account where a certain and reliable rate of return could be earned. D, charge consent holders the full management costs of looking after our waterways rather than giving them the 65% subsidy they receive at present. E, charge consent holders a royalty for the water they take from rivers, perhaps only at low flow times, and from aquifers and groundwater. That would not only help reduce rates, but would also lead to more efficient use of water with less wastage. For example, irrigators washing roadways and passing traffic, and or set up a council-owned business of bottling aquifer water. This is a letter to the editor recently suggested. According to your scientists, there's an unlimited amount of water flowing out to sea from the aquifers around here and available on a first-in, first-served basis. Yeah, right. They're probably the same scientists who were telling us not that many years ago that the Ruataniwha aquifer had heaps of water in it and then there was no need to take a cautious approach. Now, because it suits the majority of you, your scientists are saying it is over-allocated. How long will it be before they also start telling us that we have to build water storage reservoirs on the Nararora and Tutaikuru rivers because they've also been over-allocated? Paragraph 2 of the officer's response on page 2 starts, it is the view of one submitter that if the council did not support the RWSS proceeding, then these funds could be used to earn a return to decrease the council's proposed rates increases. That submitter is probably me, and for the reasons given in my written submission, and now here with the words black hole, into which a majority of you councillors want to keep pouring ratepayer money. It then goes on to talk about large infrastructural schemes with solid business cases may ease the pressure on continuing rate increases. I think the RWSS business case was shot down years ago, and with continued low milk powder prices will not help either, whereas a water bottling plant looks like a real certainty. The third consultation point I'd like to talk on is developing our economy. Apparently one respondent called for a decrease in the budget. Once again, I can put my hand up for this one. For the reasons given in my written submission, namely that in I think they actually said 2014-15 in our place, but presumably it was this, seeing as I would say it's 2015-16, you are proposing to spend $21 million on the RWSS. Can someone here give me an answer to the questions of whether the $12 million you have admitted to have spent on the RWSS so far, and now this $21 million, are in addition to the $80 million conditionally allocated, or are they part of that $80 million? If the latter, then you have broken faith with ratepayers by delving into it before any of the conditions have been met. If the former, then if you were to ditch the RWSS, then you would really be able to develop our economy with a whole lot less money, and you wouldn't. So that's why it justifies my argument you could decrease spending there. One area where I would support an increase in spending is the biodiversity strategy. As you may have seen from my written submission, I would particularly like you to record the biodiversity that exists in and around the Makaurau River. Moving on, under the heading, have we missed anything important? I fear the officers have missed most of what I had to say on pages 4 of my written submission. There's about localised water storage, more efficient use of water, farming with existing water, wetlands and shingle. I trust you will have, my suggestions made there in my written submission. In particular, would someone here today answer my closing questions? What is the Regional Council planning to do with all the shingle that will need to be extracted out of the Makaroa Reservoir every year if the dam is built? You can't find a market for what's down around Waipara and Waipukurau. You're certainly not going to be able to find someone to get metal way up there. And B, will it be the ratepayers who pay to fix this problem as well, rather than the purchasers of the water? I have another number of other issues I would like to move on to now, connected to the RWSS, of course. Us ratepayers have been paying for a number of adverts in local newspapers, like this one, where farmer Graham Anderson says, I quote, "The discounts available to farmers signing up early make the numbers work a lot easier." That's easier for farmers, isn't it? But definitely not for us ratepayers, who not only have been paying for all this preliminary stuff, but will also be subsidising the costs of the water to irrigators in the future. You have been particularly secretive about what price you will be charging farmers who sign up before financial close, but one figure I have heard is 10 cents per cubic metre, rather than the 23 cents that will be charged later. And if another of the ratepayer-funded adverts mentions Hugh Ritchie having signed up for 1 million cubic metres per year. At 10 cents per cubic metre, that will cost him $100,000 per year, rather than the $230,000 he would pay if charged 23 cents. That's $130,000 subsidy per year for Mr Ritchie from the Hawke's Bay ratepayers. Economist Peter Fraser reckoned back in December that the price needed to be nearer 50 cents. I understand he has since increased that figure even more. On the 50 cents figure, Mr Ritchie's subsidy would be $400,000 per year. And if HBRC managed to sell 40 million cubic metres annually before financial close, that will bring in a meagre $4 million per year in income at 10 cents per cubic metre. That's a 0.5% return on the $80 million, Mrs Scott. That would be a ratepayer-funded subsidy of $5.2 million per year at 23 cents and a massive $16 million ratepayer subsidy at 50 cents per cubic metre. Setting the cut-off at 40 million cubic metres of water each year was, as I understood it, to ensure the RWSS broke even. With cost overruns and rock-bottom income, there's no way that 40 million cubic metres is going to be enough. So when can we expect to see a ratepayer-funded advert to appear in local newspapers disclosing these figures? And another thing, at the RWSS meeting held in Taradale recently, one printed handout that was made available was prepared by Colin Ridden, entitled Root Zone Deficits Meet Capped Irrigation. In it, he talks about root zone water deficits of up to 8 millimetres per day likely to be experienced. He then goes on to say that only a maximum of 4.2 millimetres per day can be supplied. So will we also see another advert in the local newspapers advising farmers that the RWSS will not be able to supply enough of the water they will need? And perhaps reiterate Graham Anderson's warning that the numbers will not work at 23 cents per cubic metre, which will be consumer price indexed up to something like 30 cents per cubic metre after 5 years, which is the figure they will all be paying once the discount period expires. So you, Debbie Hewitt, Fenton Wilson, Christine Scott, David Pike, and Alan Dick, you need to reconsider your blind support for this misguided project.
I might just pull you up there. There's no need for that.
Right, okay, sorry. One other, well, you are the majority that's pushing this. That's, okay, sorry. But one other thing, on page 3 of my written submission, I submitted that the Regional Council should initiate further discussions with Kiwi Rail about leasing the Napier-Gisborne rail line, or even initiate new discussions about buying it. Could I also suggest you talk to Kiwi Rail about getting the logs that are expected to come out of Tararua and Southern Hawke's Bay in the future onto the railway and off the roads? Thank you. Sorry to rush it, but
It's good timing because you're just about out of time. We've got 10 seconds left. There will be no questions. Thank you, Mr. Paine.
right.
Good to see you again, and thank you for your submission, your addition here, and we will be back in very short order with a response. Thank you.
Answer those questions that I've asked.
That's been jotted down here, yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Havelock North Business Association, Sam Jackman.
I know the rules. Good morning.
You're on to it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman
Kick off.
and councillors, thank you for inviting me today to make our submission with regard to funding tourism in Hawke's Bay. First of all, I would like to thank you for the valuable contribution that you make to tourism to date. However, I have a question for you, and which is, why are we paying for tourism infrastructure with little support from regional council, who are the main benefactors of our investment? And by that I'm saying it's the operators, the accommodation providers, the businesses who are investing in tourism at this juncture, and this is across the region. We build the venues, we build the rooms, we advertise nationally, internationally, we employ people, we develop the economy, we pay rates, we pay GST, we pay government, central government tax. We stage events, for example, Black Barn and the hockey tournaments are all paid for by my members. We promote Hawke's Bay wherever we possibly can, and we continuously communicate with our target audience to generate visitor traffic. We do all of this with limited budgets. We do it on our own. We join and pay organisations so we can promote Hawke's Bay as a tourist destination. All of us pay. And we want to know why we continue to pay and we're not getting the support that we would like from regional council to develop the tourism industry in Hawke's Bay. If we look at my members with the Havelock North Business Association and the investment that they have put into tourism in Hawke's Bay over many, many years. For example, the Farm at Cape Kidnappers, Craggy Range, Elephant Hill, Black Barn, the Golf Club in Hastings, and of course our new hotel that we're erecting in the middle of Havelock North. The contribution that we get from regional council equates to 29.41 years of the investment that's going into that hole in the ground. They're putting $25 million into building tourism in Havelock North. That's only the big players. Then there's the smaller players, likes of myself with Mill Hills Lodge. We've invested $1.8 million into the tourism industry in Havelock North and Hawke's Bay. We continuously spend our money advertising to attract visitors to the Hawke's Bay region and enjoy the experience that we can provide here, whether it be restaurants, bars, cycle trails, all of the great things that we have to offer here in Hawke's Bay, and we are doing it on our own bat. It is our money, and we pay rates, and it's the rates that pay the $850,000 that you generously put into the current coffers. But we need more. Our association members need more. Regional council, regional operators need more. The big question is, how does this get paid? People have talked about a bed tax. In our opinion, a bed tax is unfair because if I'm paying a bed tax, what do the Gannett Colony people pay? If a hotel has a bed tax, what does a tourist operator who drives a minibus pay? So this is unfair. Secondly, with a bed tax, the cost to set up the system and for the system to be rorted also has obvious implications across the board. So we're looking to you as the regional council to help us fund the tourism industry and to start matching what we, Havelock North Business Association members, are doing in the community to build tourism in Hawke's Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Bell?
Yes, Mr. Jackman, would you have any idea how much investment the horticulture industry has in its business in Hawke's Bay?
I understand that the horticultural industry spends millions and millions of dollars developing the business. For example, in Havelock North, Rocket Apples, the Havelock North Fruit Company, has just invested $17 million in a production facility in Havelock North.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate those amounts. So do you think that, therefore, again, because they're paying rates and
Yes.
all of that, should we be subsidizing the exports of horticulture products?
Well, I'm not too sure about that. I'm here to discuss tourism, not horticulture.
Okay, I see.
Fair enough. Other questions?
More a comment, I think, just to follow on Tom's. I mean, we understand the huge effort that people in Havelock North are doing, and I live there, and people in Napier are doing, and I visit there often. It's called private enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
And this council does support tourism quite substantially at the moment. We're looking at another big ticket item right now. But I think it's a bit unfair of you to say that we're not doing the ratepayers that we represent aren't doing our job in supporting tourism. And I have that question to you. If we do, this is a question that's been asked by my colleagues, if we do go for the whole mill, the people of Havelock North will be happy about getting a big rate increase? Because that's what they're the people I have to answer to.
Well, we invest ourselves as a business association on very small shoestrings to achieve what we try to achieve just now. I understand what you're saying, but it is the ratepayers who are paying currently for the investment that a regional council are putting into tourism.
No, but the question is, excuse me, the question is, if we go for this big sum, this big increase, there's going to be a huge increase in rates.
Is
Do
it?
you think, yes, that's what it's all about. There will be a huge increase in rates. Do you think the little old lady who lives in Havelock North, and more to the point, the truck driver who lives in Flaxmere is going to be okay with this?
Well, if we're developing a local economy, whether it be horticulture, whether it be tourism, that's for the benefit and employment and economic development of the region. Currently, I believe the Hastings rate to run Hastings itself is $12 per household on a monthly basis to run services. If we need to invest $1, $2 per household to increase the economic benefit of the region, I don't think there is an issue.
And we can sell it.
I think it can be sold. We have lots to offer.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Jackman.
Thank you.
And we will be in touch with you in due course. But thank you for your presentation and
Thank you for your time.